Hey guys, it's Eric from MMOs.com doing a quick look at news recap of all major MMO news and announcements of the week ending February 26, 2018. This is episode number 136 of the recap, and the first bit of news this week comes from Inmass and Bluehole regarding Tera, and it's a big one. The console version of Tera is finally happening and is set to begin its first round of beta testing for both PS4 and Xbox One on March 9th, and will run until March 12th. This one has been teased for over a year now, and we finally have a firm release date. I actually think Tera will do pretty well on consoles. The game's action gameplay lends itself to controller play, and even if you don't intend on playing on consoles, the game's player base has been in steady decline for some time now, so if this helps the game, it's a huge win even for PC players. Unfortunately, there will not be any cross-platform play though, which is unfortunate. Plus, much like Neverwinter and other console MMORPGs, the console version will be a few patches behind the PC version, at least at launch. Up next, the Rift Prime servers are going live on March 7th, 2018, which is coming up. Rift Prime is a new subscription progression server for Rift with no pay-to-win elements. The game's cash app will only sell cosmetics and other related items. The requirement to play on Rift Prime, though, will be patron status, which is available to anyone for $14.99 a month or $8.33 a month if you're willing to pay for the entire year up front. The regular Rift servers will remain free to play, so only the new progression server will require patron status. I'm kind of curious to see how this is going to do. So far, pretty much every progression server I've seen has done well, so I think Rift might do alright too, but we'll have to wait and see. And I also feel like if this does well, it might send a signal to other game developers that the subscription model is okay if you get rid of all the bullshit in the cash shop, but we'll see how many people actually end up playing this. Up next, we have a brand new MMORPG that launched this week. Well, it launched into early access, that is. Tale of Toast is available to everyone for free on Steam right now, and it's actually pretty fun. I put our first look video up for this one already, and enjoyed what I saw. The game is pretty bare bones right now, but the premise is actually interesting. The game is inspired by old school MMORPGs like RuneScape and Ultima Online, with its classes progression and emphasis on crafting and open world PvP. And despite the cutesy graphics, it's actually pretty hardcore, as it has full loot elements. Time will tell if it proves successful though. I think the full loot elements will be a big turnoff for some players, but the way the game is designed, it actually makes sense. If you want to learn more about this one, definitely check out my first look video. I had fun with this one. Next up, some major changes are coming to Paladins. Huge, actually. So Paladins got a new executive producer who used to be the head honcho behind Smite, and now he's bringing some big changes to the game now that he moved to Paladins. The entire Cards Unbound pay-to-win system that players hated, well, that's getting axed entirely and being replaced with a new deck building system that requires way less grind. There's also big changes coming to Paladins Battlegrounds, which is the game's new Battle Royale mode in Paladins. The alpha test for that one, it ended earlier this week, and Hi-Rez decided to launch a Battlegrounds as a separate game. So they seem to be going the route that Fortnite H1Z1 took, where the game is separate from the other version, which I think actually is pretty smart because Paladins Battle Royale is quite different from the default Paladins game. I should mention that after I put up my first look video for Paladins Battlegrounds, I did play for a few hours longer and I actually enjoyed it a lot. There's a lot to like here, and I'm really interested to see how the game develops. The next alpha test for the Battlegrounds mode is set to begin sometime in the next few weeks, and I'm pretty hyped for that. Speaking of Battle Royale, Robocraft Royale is a thing, and it's happening. Yes, it's yet another Battle Royale game, but it's set in the Robocraft universe. This isn't exactly new information, though, as it was announced a few months ago, but we do now know that free alpha testing is starting on March 1st. And if you played Robocraft before, it's actually a really cool premise for a Battle Royale game, but like regular Robocraft, everyone can't just craft and bring their own vehicles into the game. Instead, you find vehicles and robots scattered across the game world that other people created and got approved. Apparently, there are hundreds of these vehicles, so it is still kind of unique. And as with other Battle Royale games, it'll support up to 100 players in a single map, which is kind of cool, but I want to see Battle Royale games pump that number up to like 200, 300, and it'd be way cooler with more people, but everyone seems to go with the 100 number. But still, again, the free alpha test for this begins on March 1st. Next up, Neverwinter released a teaser trailer for its newest area, the Lost City of Omu, which is the game's latest expansion that's set to launch on February 27th, which is actually tomorrow. The new expansion changes the game quite a bit, namely it decreased the amount of XP needed to level between level 60 and 70, adds adjustments to class powers, new endgame trials, and a bunch more. And despite Neverwinter's age now, the game remains hugely popular. It averages about 2,700 people online at any given time on Steam alone, which is pretty great because the games, most games trend downwards over years, but Neverwinter has actually been increasing its player base for the last 3 years or so, which is pretty impressive. And again, that's just on the PC version of the game. The game is out on consoles as well. Up next, a bit of news I forgot to sneak in last week. Path of Exile announced their Bestiary League, which adds a monster capturing feature to the game. It's a big update to the game that adds new gems, new feeded uniques, a new beast crafting system, and a lot more. The Bestiary League update is set to launch on March 1st, and they also released some pretty interesting statistics. 2017 has been a hugely successful year for Path of Exile. The game's total playtime has more than doubled from 200 million hours in 2016 to over 400 million hours in 2017. I think one of the reasons Path of Exile has been so successful is it's super straightforward and honest cash shop. It features no pay-to-win elements at all, and I think a lot of people like that a lot. Plus, it's also a really good game. If you never played it, well worth checking out. It's an isometric game, kind of like Diablo 3. Next up, some unfortunate news came out this week for Cabal 2. Soft announced that the game will be shutting down in the near future. Ollie didn't announce a specific date for the game's shutdown, but it'll be closing down for good probably the next month or two. They'll announce the shutdown schedule in the next few days, though. I don't think anyone who followed this one should be too surprised. The game didn't really have a big player base at any point, and did very little to actually innovate the genre. What's crazy is that even though Cabal 2 is shutting down now after less than 3 years of service, the Western version of the original Cabal Online is still open and has been running for over 10 years now, and still doing fairly well. Still, rest in pepperoni, Cabal 2. Up next, Dauntless announced this week that the big changes will be coming to the game after receiving player feedback from their beta periods. The development team will be adding more islands, destructible environments, new points of interest, and more. And despite being in paid beta for a while now, there's still no release schedule for when the game will be transitioning into free-to-play. All we know is that it'll be happening sometime in 2018. For those that haven't heard of Dauntless, it's a co-op game similar to Monster Hunter. In fact, it's very similar to Monster Hunter. I do suspect they'll have a difficult time attracting users because how well Monster Hunter World is currently doing. Though it is free-to-play, and there aren't really too many free-to-play Monster Hunter-like games in the PC, so at least that's kind of different about Dauntless. If you do want to learn about this one, do check out the first look video I did for this one a while ago. Next up, after being announced way back in September 2016, Horror Kingdom Mobile is finally coming to the West. X-Legend released a teaser site for the game early this month, and they announced just recently that they'll be self-publishing the global version themselves rather than working with their longtime partner, Area Games. Despite being about 2 years old, the game doesn't look too bad. It does have a persistent world, which I like, and the anime art style looks okay, but also has that pesky autoplay button that you can see on the bottom right over there. No word on release date just yet, but it shouldn't be too far out now. The next and last bit of news this week is a bit of a mystery one. Funcom will be announcing a brand new game this coming week, and we don't know too much about it just yet. All we know is that the teaser website in the background has a countdown for the game, which runs until, looks like February 28th or so. And we see 4 playable characters as well. We'll learn more about this one soon. We don't know if it's an MMO, but regardless, expect an official announcement for it soon. My guess, it'll be some kind of co-op shooter of sorts. But guys, that's it for MMO news this week. I'll see you guys tomorrow for the podcast. Later, guys.